my name.
DeOndre.
DeOndre.
For DeOndre.
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 DeOndre. The one and only.
When they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther. You know, every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Sometimes in life, you need something that's just gonna shake some shit up, right? You know, and by that I mean sometimes you need to ruffle a few feathers, right? Shake some tables, really light fires under some people's asses in order to right the wrongs of society, to really get down to the nitty gritty of things. To give you guys a clue as to what I might be referring to, I'm sure at this point a lot of you may have already seen this. Restaurant critic, TikTok reviewer, or TikTok food reviewer Keith Lee, is, like I said, many of you have seen or heard of this by now. You know, he's been under some hot water for the past few days in regards to his food tour in Atlanta, where he visited a few restaurants in particular. One restaurant called The Real Milk and Honey, and another restaurant by the name of Old Lady Gang. Now, there were a couple other restaurants he visited that were fine, but for some odd reason, those two restaurants are the restaurants that we're going to really focus on today, because that's really where majority of the problems come from. The restaurant by the name of Old Lady Gang, which is a crazy name, but that happens to be owned by Kandi Burruss. For those of you who watch The Real Housewives of Atlanta, you know, then you know who Kandi Burruss is. Or if you are old school, then you remember the R&B female group Escape. Now, Keith Lee, for those that may not know, has reviewed food from all different kinds of restaurants all across the country, and has given, you know, good reviews on places as well as some constructive criticism on a lot of places, right? Now, his reviews are highly respected in the social media space, so much so that if he likes a place, literally the next day, that place gets flooded with business. And this is known as like the Keith Lee effect, right? There's a bunch of videos on TikTok where you can literally see, you know, people going to restaurants and it's lines wrapped all the way around the fucking block for a restaurant because Keith Lee said that it was really good to go to, and they really have good food and all that kind of stuff. So it's a real thing.
Drive around with one hand, it's a little dangerous, but this is the dining experience he just reviewed. Look at these cars lined up, y'all. This area is always empty, but this is just one side to, like, look at this row. It is never packed, but this is the dining experience, and people are lined up to check out food. So great job. Thank you for bringing visibility to the South Side.
Now, it was all good in the hood with Keith Lee until it came to him reviewing food in Atlanta. Things got so heated in Atlanta specifically that Rolling Stone, yes, the Rolling Stone, actually wrote an entire piece on the details of his trip to Atlanta. Now, one of the places that he visited was called The Real Milk and Honey, and this is what he had to say about it.
My family are in Atlanta, and currently we are at The Real Milk and Honey. I got it. Let's try it and rate it 1 through 10. As you can see, I don't have any bags in my hands. We are at The Real Milk and Honey on Main Street in College Park. Before we came, we attempted to call our order in. We were greeted with an automatic message that said they do not take call-in orders. The automatic message said the only way you can do pickup is through DoorDash. We went through DoorDash, they was closed. But online, it said they closed at 5 o'clock. We went on DoorDash at 4 o'clock, but we were already here, so we just went inside. I stayed in the car and my family went in, and they told them they were closed early for deep cleaning. Yet the door is wide open and it's people still going in and grabbing their orders. Now we have no idea if those people ordered beforehand or what the case is. Also, the people who relayed this message, my family said were really nice. It's just the rules. And so far being in Atlanta, I found some places do have unique rules, and this is one of them. I want to be very clear, we're not blaming one person or saying one person was rude. In plain terms.
Now, this video specifically has been viewed over like 7 million times, I believe. And the comments from this were just astronomical, right? Like, it was ridiculous how many comments came out. And, you know, so many people in the comments were pointing out their experiences, not only with this specific restaurant, but a lot of different restaurants in Atlanta, right? This really got the ball rolling because the owner of The Real Milk and Honey, now mind you, there's 2 spots, okay? There's 2 spots called Milk and Honey. There's Milk and Honey, and then there's this spot that Keith Lee is talking about called The Real Milk and Honey. Stupid, right? But that's what it is, okay? So he's talking about The Real Milk and Honey. Now, like I said, this you know, Keith Lee's review of this place got the ball rolling with some really negative publicity coming from people who've been there, people who were thinking possibly about going there, and all of that. So obviously it got so big to the point where the owner of the Real Milk and Honey restaurant, you know, made a response video to Keith Lee, and it's honestly one of the more cringiest response videos that you've probably ever seen. Take a look.
Did you see this Keith Lee video about the Real Milk and Honey?
And who is this Keith Lee?
Daddy, you don't know Keith Lee?
Yeah.
No.
That was the owner of the Real Milk and Honey basically dissing Keith Lee and saying that he doesn't know who Keith Lee is, right? Now, obviously, they must be new to the Keith Lee experience because once this video came out, the Keith Lee support train was in full effect. Like, I mean, they ripped him a new ass. I mean, they really let him have it for acting like, you know, they didn't know, or he didn't know who Keith Lee was, when literally every restaurant, at least, you know, every black-owned restaurant knows who he is. Not only that, but they invite him to their restaurant to experience the food and give his opinion on it, right, as well as the service. He even says that in a lot of his videos. Like, you know, I get invited to come and, you know, review these places and review the food. And, you know, if I don't get invited by the restaurant themselves, you know, I get told a million times in emails and comments and DMs from, you know, his followers and fans and everything to come to certain spots and, you know, give your opinion and your take on it, right? So, you know, he's not just going there just randomly, right? Like, there's a reason why he's going to your place, right? He's either heard about it or you invited him personally. Now, granted, he pays his own money, right? It's not like the food is comped or anything like that. But I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the food was, because it's like, yo, like, you know, he got over 4 million fucking followers on TikTok. Like, it's crazy. You know what I mean? His opinion holds a lot of weight. Now, after they made their video, they then decided to, you know, cha-cha real smooth and backtrack and release a statement that said, "Today we extend our apologies to all as we address a recent incident that highlighted a review from a high-profile food blogger. In no way were we trying to discredit anyone. If the comments came across as such, kindly accept our apologies. It's crucial to always take feedback and make improvements for the success of our business and our community. We've taken time to reflect on the incident and have started internal corrective actions with our team regarding communication styles. The house rules that are circulating are outdated, and current one is to be published soon on our social platforms where everyone can see. It's a vibe, not rules." Last but not least, in no way, shape, or form is the woman circulating on social media with comments on autism a manager associated with our business or has ever worked for us. Let's fact check before we lash out with false comments and narratives. Thank you to our loyal customer base, our new followers, and future clients. We are ready to learn and grow from this incident. We are here to provide fantastic customer service and delicious meals. Let's all remain socially responsible. Cheers. I love how it says, in no way are we trying to discredit anyone, when you literally acted like you didn't know who he was. Like, now, there was a part in there about a random person that was, you know, saying that Keith Lee was autistic and all kinds of stupid shit like that. But, you know, they're saying that that person that said it, you know, isn't really affiliated with the restaurant in any way. But, you know, I'm also not a fan of how snarky they came across in this statement. Like, you know, just saying shit like, let's fact check before we lash out with false comments and narratives. I don't know. It just comes off as unsatisfactory and kind of a slight dig at the internet, and not really turning around and taking a hard look in the mirror for the piss poor customer service that was given to arguably the biggest food reviewer in the world, at least on social media. And another thing, you specifically name dropped Keith Lee in your nutty ass response video trying to bash him. But when your ass was getting ate up all over social media and you couldn't take the backlash, you know, the kitchen was getting a little too hot, then all of a sudden you don't want to name drop him again and you just call him a high profile food blogger. Just another little dig, you know, trying to belittle and demean his influence, you know, that kind of thing. The thing that a lot of Keith Lee supporters like about him is that he, you know, he just wants to be treated like any other person, right? At least that's what he says. And that he doesn't want any special treatment. You know, he just wants to receive good food, good service, just like the rest of us, right? Who wouldn't want that? So that whole experience was one of the first red flags in this whole thing. Another crazy situation that occurred is when he, you know, decided to go visit a restaurant by the name of Old Lady Gang, who, you know, like I said, is owned by Kandi Burruss.
Yesterday, me and my family were at the One Music Festival. Somebody who works with Kandi Burruss walked up to us and said they've been trying to reach us since we got to Atlanta. He said he'd been constantly emailing me and constantly DMing me for me to come to Old Lady Gang. I got it, let's try it, and rating 1 through 10. As you can see, I don't have any bags in my hands. Me and my family showed up and we attempted to order before we got here. We called the number they had connected on Yelp 3 times, no answer. We tried to order through DoorDash and it said it was temporarily closed. So when we pulled up, I sent my family in to order for us. They said on the weekends, due to being busy, they don't do any takeout at all.
They do to-go orders?
No, we don't do to-go on the weekend.
Oh, okay, so it's sit-in dining.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sweetie. We appreciate you.
Which is completely understandable. So what we decided to do is my family's gonna go eat. They're just gonna come bring the food out while I'm sitting in the car, so they have no idea I'm here. My family asked how long the wait was to be seated. They said an hour to an hour and a half.
Yes, hour and a half.
Okay.
She also said they didn't have any reservations available, so they didn't take down any number, any contact information, nothing. My family then came and relayed that message to me, and I decided to go in myself. We walked in and we were greeted by a nice young lady. And then I met some amazing people who were eating there, and we took some pictures. God is amazing. As soon as me and my wife were done taking pictures, the lady said the table was ready. As always, I don't want any special treatment. I want to be treated like everybody else. I pay for my food like everybody else. I'm a normal person. I'm a normal customer. Things like this is exactly why I do reviews the way I do. Just because I have a certain amount of followers on social media don't make me different from nobody. My mom, my mom-in-law, my sister, they all paying customers just like me. So I want them to be treated just like me. So I asked how long the wait time has been today. She said an hour to an hour and a half. So which I then asked, how were you able to sit me in 5 minutes? This is her response.
How long are we looking for as far as wait?
I'm just gonna set up like 5 minutes. On the wait, this all call came. Now it's whoever first come, first serve.
Again, my family just attempted to eat there less than 2 minutes ago. I then told her I changed my mind. We're gonna go eat somewhere else, and I said God bless you, and I walked out.
On second thought, it's okay. We're gonna go eat somewhere else. So I appreciate it though. For sure. Thank you. God bless. Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Have a good one.
Have a great day.
I'm gonna be very transparent and honest. I am frustrated. Me and my family just trying to eat food. That's all we try to do. At the same time, I am frustrated. I understand we are all humans. I do not agree. I do not support. I do not condone shaming this business based on my experience. Like every city we've been to since we've been on food tour, I go to an array of restaurants. From mom and pop shops to staples of the community to super popular to places nobody know about. And Atlanta has definitely been a unique experience for me and something I'll never forget. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, genuinely. But I'm a normal person and I want to be treated like everybody else. God bless you. Have an amazing day. Y'all be safe. I'm not playing. I understand everybody got their own opinions on situations, but don't go leaving them 0-star reviews. You ain't never been here before. If you like to, come experience it yourself and then leave your reviews. But just leaving a review based on my experience is crazy in my opinion. God bless you.
Wow. So my first obvious question is, how did the wait time go from an hour, hour and a half to 5 minutes when he walked in? Like it literally went from an hour, like hour and a half, whatever she said, to 5 minutes. That is tough. That's tough. That is tough. These Atlanta restaurants, man, boy, I tell you. Now, mind you, I personally have been to Atlanta a few times. You know, I got family down there, you know, and the food has been awesome at the places that I've been to. You know, whether I went for brunch or dinner, you know, or whatever, right? The food was good. And so on a personal level, it's a little disheartening to know that these Atlanta restaurants move like this. But if I'm being honest, I can't really be shocked, especially with how bougie and fake famous people pretend to be in Atlanta anyway, right? Like it's a very pretentious place, to be honest, you know, in some ways, you know. Now, after Keith posted this video on his page, just like clockwork, you know, word got around that Old Lady Gang, you know, was doing too much and people started to surround that place with a bunch of negative publicity. The story got so big that eventually, and I knew that this would happen, but eventually Kandi Burruss herself had to come out and make a response video about it. And this is what she had to say.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Kandi and I'm about to speak on it. No, I'm joking. I'm not about to speak on it. I really just wanted to say I do appreciate Keith Lee for stopping by our restaurant and trying to show us love. It is very unfortunate that we couldn't serve him and his family. We would have loved to, okay? But he's right. We don't take to-go orders on the weekends, and the simple reason is because we do love and appreciate the people who come and support our restaurant. On the weekends, we get a lot of community support, people in our city that show up for us, as well as a lot of people from out of town. So with that being said, we don't want to overwhelm our kitchen by having to, have such long times for the people who are actually at the restaurant, plus having to do to-go orders, because obviously that would make the wait times even longer. So that's the reason for that. For those of you, I saw a couple people was like, why wouldn't they take to-go orders? Well, that's why. Anyway, with that, outside of that, I want to say thanks to Keith for trying to even show up to our restaurant and show us love. Thanks for trying to bring your family by, and maybe next time we'll still get a chance to serve you. Okay.
Now I got to give Candy credit here. Because unlike the Real Milk and Honey owners, who tried to come out and act like they didn't know who Keith Lee was, when that's clearly a fucking lie. Because if you really didn't know who he was, or, you really didn't think that much of him, you wouldn't have even have bothered to make a response video in the first place. That's how I would view the situation. Instead of doing that, Candy actually came out and tried to address the problems, presented in Keith's video about her restaurant. However, she failed to address the wait time difference from, like I said, an hour and a half wait per customer to all of a sudden the wait time went to 5 minutes once Keith came in. Like, that's just very interesting how that works. And if the restaurant doesn't take reservations, then it shouldn't be tables reserved just for celebrities. Like, that's fake as shit. Now, going back to the Real Milk and Honey spot for a second, I found out, like I said, I found out that there is another spot called Milk and Honey, but the restaurant that Keith went to was called the Real Milk and Honey. And, I just really want to say, like, that's already mad shady. Like, that's just shady as hell in the first place. Like, how you open up a business and your fucking name and in your fucking name you try to diss another restaurant. Like, you already building your restaurant, you're building your business on shaky ground anyway, because you're literally set up your business to try to diss another business. Like, that's crazy. Amid all of this backlash, right, people came out and posted their house rules for, this restaurant, the Real Milk and Honey. And this thing is longer than the Bible. Like, this list is more confusing than the ending to Inception. People have been dragging the hell out of this rule list, and rightfully so, because it's stupid and kind of unprofessional. Like, look at this one. Number 3 says 18% gratuity added to parties of 5 or more, or checks larger than $75. But then 6 spots below that, number 9 says no parties larger than 4 on days that end in Y. So every day then. It's just insane. But, let me get to what I really want to get to. So since all of this drama has went down, people have, come out against Keith Lee, especially people in Atlanta, saying that, his whole trip to Atlanta was just to try to, bring small Black-owned businesses down. And, I got to disagree with that. I feel that Keith Lee and other, food reviewers out there are actually doing a great service by going out to these places and trying to make sure that people in Atlanta, for example, are being treated fairly and equally and are getting the same good food and good service across the board. Like, what's so wrong with that? His reviews are highly touted, highly respected, and really changed the lives of a lot of small businesses out there. And I also think that it's mad corny that there are a bunch of losers out here that are and have been sending death threats to him and his family, which he's spoken about in a few of his latest TikToks, over some food reviews. Like, he actually got pressed by folks over food reviews. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Like, normally people argue in the comments about this kind of stuff, right? Like, if somebody goes to a place, they don't like the food, right? Oh, okay, cool. There's like a big hodgepodge of back and forth in the comment section when it comes to stuff like that, right? Like, what you mean you didn't like this? I loved it. I got it. And, oh no, I hated it. I hated the food. The food was nasty. Like, normally, like, shit like that goes down in the comments, right? Like, they disagree in the comments when it comes to this type of content, but for it to actually trickle into real life to the point where y'all ready to crash out over some overpriced lamb chops and some cheese grits in a shady restaurant with a grass wall and a $10 neon sign is actually mental illness right there. Overall, this whole situation was a huge mess, but it showcased the favoritism in places like Atlanta, and it showed that a lot of these places are just not there for the community. Like, they're there for only themselves and just want celebrity and fame and notoriety, which is a real shame. Like, it's just crazy. I mean, I get it. Every restaurant, you know, I'm sure, unless it's like some sort of nonprofit or something, but you know, they're in the business of making money, right? I understand people got bills to pay, people got mouths to feed. I get that, right? No pun intended. But there's just a way to go about it. And, you know, honestly, thank God for this Keith Lee shit going down in Atlanta, because it really, hopefully, will allow for these places to make the changes that they need to make, because it's clear as day that there's favoritism going on, you know, and there's favoritism all over the fucking world. It's not just in Atlanta, but, you know, this right here was just a small drop in the bucket to hopefully, you know, change some things that are going on in some of these places, man, because people just want to have good food, man, you know, and I get people are putting a lot of money into these restaurants. Some people are putting like their very last into this, and I get it, you know, but if that's the case, then you need to act like it, right? You need to be serving people like your life depends on it, right? You need to be making everybody feel, you know, comfortable and equal in your establishment like your life depends on it, because it low-key does. Like, you shouldn't be trying to, you know, cater to Keith Lee but then treat this person like shit. Like, nah, bro, that's not how it goes. But anyway, that's all I gotta say on this, man. Just a whole crazy situation. But yeah, that's all I gotta say on this, man. Peace.